Now, let's get started with the UEA member cities session of 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit. My name is Samuel Sa Seung Ho, Project Manager of the Urban Environmental Accord Secretariat. Thank you for sharing your valuable time with us here, either online or in person. In this session, we invited mayors and officials from UEA member cities, divided by two parts. This session will share cities' visions and plans for net zero at part one. And at part two, their best practices for realizing sustainable cities. Let me introduce presenters from the UEA member cities, in online or in person. Please understand that participants outside the host city nation, the Republic of Korea, are invited online. Here are presenters of the part one. Dr. Chol Ho Hwang, Chief of the Net Zero R&D Bureau of the International Climate and Environment Center. He will present on behalf of Guangzhou Metropolitan City, the Republic of Korea. Suman Adhikari, Chief of Legal and Human Rights Division in Kathmandu Metropolitan City Office in Nepal. Asian Erdinkler, Head of Environmental Protection and Development Department of Istanbul Metropolitan City, Turkey. Kwang Sun Jung, a Manager of Climate and Ecology of Jeollanam-do Provincial Government, Republic of Korea. Here are presenters of part two. Mr. Jen Mao Fan Chiang, Specialist of the Environmental Protection of Taipei City Government. Mr. Hang Bunny, Deputy Director of Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry, and Fisheries, Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Mr. Noel Hechanova, Head of the Department of the City Environment and Natural Resources Office of the Iloilo City, the Philippines. The Fongo Cletus Tanway, Mayor of Bamenda City Council, Cameroon. Hafiza Mustafa, Head of the Malacca Green Awards, Malaysia. Dodi Reja Alex Nordin, Regent of Mushi Banyuasin Regency of South Sumatra, Indonesia. Wimaladasa, Consultant of Matale Municipal Council, Sri Lanka. Dong-U Yang, the Senior Researcher of International Climate and Environment Center, Republic of Korea. In addition to our presenters, we have audiences online and in person, and in particular, we have tens of fellows watching our session who has been closely collaborating with the UEA Secretariat, such as the Cambodia and the Pakistan. Before the presentation session starts, we have two speakers with special messages for this session. First, we meet Dr. Won Tae-yoon, Secretary General of the UEA, and also the chair of this session. Please give us a speech at the stage, please.
Dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Won Tae-yoon, Secretary General of the UEA. I'd like to thank you, all of you, for your participation in the UEA member cities session. I'd also would like to express my gratitude to Mayor Oh Kwon and all the colleagues and citizens of your city for their great support and hard work in hosting this event successfully. As we know, more than half of the world population resides in cities. So cities are at high risk from the devastating impact of climate change. such as rising sea levels and powerful coastal storms, making cities both culprit and victim in the climate crisis. Human survival is now at a critical point. We must face the unavoidable task of becoming carbon neutral, with cities playing a vital role in achieving net zero. To this end, we'll hear from our UEA member cities around the world. During the first half of the session, we'll share our respective cities' approach to implement net zero strategies. In the second half of the session, we'll share best practices for sustainable urban development. I believe our endeavors will bring us closer to realizing net zero. I also hope this session will be an opportunity to share valuable knowledge and experiences and promote global collaboration at the city level. Again, I'd like to express my gratitude to all UEA members participating in this session and to everyone attending this event online and in person. Many thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General, for the speech. Now, the Mayor, Kwan Oh-pong, Mayor of the YEOSU City, will give us the video speech. The city of YEOSU organized this summit with tremendous support from the mayor and its citizens. Please welcome his video message.
I'd like to welcome all of you to the 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit. To the member cities who are participating in this session and those of you who are connected online, I'd like to welcome you and thank you for your participation. YEOSU is a leading marine tourism city, and I am the mayor of YEOSU, Kwon Oh-bong. For improving the city environment and for sustainable development, in 2005, UEA had begun. And today, we will have a session of the member cities, which is very important. We will be looking at net zero and ways to improve the urban environment. We will be sharing in our experiences. So we look forward to meaningful discussions. Last April, YEOSU City declared our 2050 net zero vision. Net zero vision implementation also requires specific planning and actions. And along with central government's support, we need to have all of the stakeholders involved in the implementation process. And the South Sea and South Central region's 12 cities are trying to bid to host the COP28 in YEOSU in 2023, thereby presenting new solutions for resolving the climate crisis. We look forward to your continued support in this endeavor. The 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit. Thank you very much for participating in our event once again. And all of the discussions from today's session hopefully will lead to sustainable development of cities through net zero. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your kind words, Mr. Mayor. Now, this session will be chaired by Dr. Won Tae-yoon, the UEA Secretary General and the President of the ICC. And the presenters of the first part of this session are Dr. Chol Ho Hwang, the Chief of Net Zero R&D Bureau from International Climate and Environment Center, and Kwang Sun-jung, the Manager of Climate and Ecology in Jeollanam-do Provincial Government. Please welcome the chair and the presenters to the stage. Thank you, everyone. So, from this part, here is the Secretary General to continue this session.
So, good afternoon again. My name is Won Tae-yoon, the Secretary General of the UEA. So, thank you again for joining this meaningful event and session. In this session, various experiences in your cities for realizing net zero will be shared to global society through our UEA network. I'm very much excited to hear these stories from you. Now, let's start with part one of this session on vision and plan for net zero. Please note that each presenter will be given just 12 minutes. We have limited time. So now I want to invite our first presenter from Guangzhou Metropolitan City, Dr. Choro Hwang of ICEC, presenting on the vision and policy on Guangzhou's net zero energy independent city. Please come to give us a speech. Yeah, your turn, please, Dr. Hwang.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Hwang. Let me presentation in Korean. I ask for your understanding.
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to congratulate you on holding the 2021 UEA YEOSU Summit. Today, I would like to give a talk, and before I begin, I would like to point out that we are at a very important transition point in time because of the pandemic, and Gwangju Metropolitan City is no exception. Gwangju is trying to be in the lead in achieving carbon neutrality goals, and we have announced a vision for doing that. And so we have the vision and policy of Gwangju's net zero energy independent city, and that is what I would like to talk about during the time given to me. And as for this new challenge of Gwangju, well, we will be making continuous effort, and I hope that we will be able to make that effort with the member cities of UEA. Today, I would like to give you a brief introduction of Gwangju, and then talk about what the city has done until now towards net zero, and then talk about the new vision that we declared. And then lastly, I would like to talk about some challenges and new starts. First, some information about Gwangju. Gwangju is in the southern west area of Korea, and Gwangju is the 5th largest city in Korea. Gwangju is known for democracy and human rights movements. And the Gwangju Democratic Movement, which took place in May 18th of 1980, is quite important. And we have areas that are registered as UNESCO World Heritage, and we aspirate to become a hub city of Asian culture. So we hold the Gwangju Biennale every other year, and we are forming an Asia Culture Complex. And so we are working continuously to become a hub city of Asian culture. We also have Mount Mudung and the UNESCO Global Geoparks in this city. And so Gwangju has important environment and culture, and these are important heritages that we must protect. Population of Gwangju Metropolitan City is 1.44 million. And 2 decades ago and 1 decade ago, if we compare then and now, actually the population is decreasing. So we have less people, fewer people compared to, for example, 2019. And this is bringing about many changes. And what is important is we are hurt by climate change and the damages are being accelerated. And of course, we have factors in the city that can actually exacerbate the damages. The number of vehicles are increasing in Gwangju. They are mostly diesel cars. And this will bring about more climate change and emissions of greenhouse gases. There is urbanization happening in the city, and we have bigger portions of older buildings, and we have greenhouse gases that are emitted from these old buildings, and that is increasing. And 10 years ago, so since year 2008, Gwangju has begun in earnest its response effort against climate change. And the background for this is on this slide. We want to have a safe city, a city that is climate-proof against torrential rains, typhoons, heavy snow, heat waves, and so forth. And so first, I would like to talk about some risk factors for Gwangju. 20 years ago, Gwangju was not exposed to much risk of climate change. However, things changed in the last 10 years. We have seen increases in the temperature, and we're seeing tropical nights and also urban island phenomenon. And Gwangju is now #1 in Korea for the increased rate of heat waves and tropical nights over the past 10 years. So Gwangju is now one of the hottest cities in Korea. And also precipitation is changing greatly. And so the change is consistent if we look at it at the entire year statistics. However, the number of raining days and number of dry days are increasing. And in the past, we had much rain in July and August, and of course that continues until now. However, we have long dry spells before and after the rainy season, and this is actually affecting our agricultural sector, and we are being exposed to a lot of pollutants. And in year 2008, Gwangju was designated as a city that will carry out climate change response pilot city. And since then, we have had many projects in place. So we became a climate change response model city in year 2008. And since then, we have implemented a carbon point system. And this system began in Gwangju, but many other cities have followed suit and have similar systems. And what is key here, what is key to the program in Gwangju is that we do everything together with the citizens, and we carry out risk analysis and also scientific analysis so that everything is evidence-based, and you can see that technology is embedded. We also have low-carbon green apartment complex projects, and this was led by the private sector. And the reason we implemented this is because 70% of the buildings in Gwangju City are actually apartment complexes. And so for 10 years, we have continued this project, and it is still ongoing. So we carry out scientific evaluation about technology, and we also carry out training, and that is why we established the ICEC. And the ICEC is a research institute on international climate and environment, and they engage in research and scientific analysis, and they run numerous projects so that the general public can participate. And also, the Secretariat of UEA is placed with the ICEC. And we want to be scientific when it comes to emissions reduction. And we need to have accurate data, and we need to provide this accurate data and information to other parties. And that is why we have implemented a system that can evaluate the urban environment. That is why we have the UCM system, the Urban Climate Management System, and we also have what is called the Greenhouse Gas Inventory System. And here we do the inventorying, and also we carry out programs in order to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. However, we went one step further, and we're not just monitoring, but now we have what is called a UEAM session, and I believe I will be talking about the system in detail in a subsequent slide. I already mentioned the carbon point system. And this program is being implemented with the central government in lead now. And in the case of Gwangju, 60% of our citizens are participating in this program. And in 10 years, we can see that there was a reduction result of 100,000 tons. And this is the UCM system that I talked about, the Urban Climate Management System. So when we began, we wanted to know where the greenhouse gases were coming from in the Gwangju city area. That was the beginning. However, over the years, we thought that it is not enough just to monitor the emission of greenhouse gases. That would not be very effective. And so now we look at all risk factors related to climate change and also regarding the environment. And we collect big data, and we also have databases on this data, and we connect to the GIS system. So by having this UCM system, we know which areas are the most vulnerable. Next, I would like to talk about the 2045 Net Zero City in Gwangju vision and program. So background for this vision. Of course, we have recommendation by the global community to aim for net zero by 2050, and we have the direction from the central government as well. And of course, cities are the culprit and the victims of carbon emissions. And Gwangju is in the southern area of ROK, and we are exposed to many natural disasters, including floods and heat waves. And of course, we are not free from threats of infectious diseases. And so we have the central government's goal of achieving net zero by 2050, but we felt that we had to achieve this earlier, and that is why our goal year is 2045 instead of 2050. And so we have the current emissions level in Gwangju, and in 80 years, if we continue as business as usual, we believe that the temperature will go up by 3.9 degrees. And even if we make a lot of efforts, an increase of 1.5 degrees is unavoidable. So those are the calculations that we made. And we believe with such temperature increases, this will threaten the safety of Gwangju city. And so we need to be preemptive in reducing greenhouse gases. And we also need to form a sustainable city in Gwangju, and we have to protect our citizens. And that is why we came up with the 2045 net zero city in Gwangju. And on the graph, you can see the amount of greenhouse gases that Gwangju is emitting, and we have the decrease scenario on the bottom. And we started early compared to other cities, and our increase rate is not as high as other cities. This is our progress. We declared our vision on February 2nd, 2020. But before that, in the previous year, there was a declaration ceremony among the private entities. And previously, we discussed what kind of measures we will be implementing towards net zero. And we had numerous meetings. And in August 19th, we declared Net Zero City 2045. And we formed a special committee, and we are also working with the city council. And that is how we came up with Net Zero Bureau. And this bureau was founded in February of this year. And a master plan is being worked on by this bureau. And so these are the reduction targets that we have. And we are aiming for net zero by 2045, and we will have to make an energy transition. So we can reduce 34% by changing the energy mix to renewables. We will also be making progress in terms of buildings and transport and so forth. So we have plans, reduction plans for each of the sections. So by 2045, if we achieve all these goals, then we will be achieving net zero in 2045. So this vision that we have is not simply reducing greenhouse gases and becoming carbon neutral. Actually, we have 3 pillars to this vision. One is green transition city, second is climate-proof city, and the third is green industry city. So first of all, we will have to use green energy and make energy transition. And what is key here is that the citizens will be in the lead when we make that energy transition. Now, regarding energy transition that happened in Korea, most of them were led by the central government or by the local autonomous governments. However, according to our vision for 2040, we want the citizens to generate energy, and we want the citizens to find ways to save energy. And we will, of course, provide support so that that will be possible. And then for becoming a climate-proof city, we want to strengthen sustainability of the city, and we will, of course, have adaptation measures here. And, of course, climate-related justice and equality is important. And we believe that all citizens of Gwangju need to feel safe from climate threats. And next, the third pillar, which is the green industry city. Well, we believe that we can propose a new model for economic growth by working on green technology. And so we want sustainable water environment, and we can foster industries that promote clean air and so forth. And this will create jobs for our citizens. So, some main tasks. First, to become energy independent. Well, by 2030, all firms in Gwangju, the energy they use will have to be switched to renewables. And by 2035, most of the electricity energy will have to be from renewables. And by 2045, all energy, including electricity, we will have to become independent in that regard. And the next culprit for carbon emissions in Gwangju is the transport sector. And so the goal for 2025, we want to discard all the obsolete diesel cars. And also by 2030, we will be limiting the registration of internal combustion engine cars. And by 2040, all vehicles in Gwangju, we want them to be transformed into eco-friendly vehicles. And the last part has to do with waste. And this part has to do with waste disposal because Gwangju is known to have huge volumes, the most volume of waste produced by the citizens. And so we will be working on turning waste into resources, planting trees, and also by 2045, we want everyone to be just 10 minutes away from an ecological environment or parks. And Gwangju is actually focusing on AI-related projects in the recent days. And in terms of climate change and greenhouse gas emissions, AI will play a very important role as well. So Gwangju was the first city in Korea that established the AI big data-based climate prediction evaluation. And by doing that, we will have a smart flood management system, smart water and sewage management system, and a smart system based on AI to monitor our fine dust. And secondly, the second topic has to do with the air pollution, and we want to form a environment convergence industry cluster that will work on clean air industries. And by doing this, we want to deal with climate change and the air pollutions and turn these into business opportunities. And the last movement is the citizen-led sustainable ecological culture village creation. And we are working on the water circulation city, and we want to take full advantage of rainwater and surface water. And Gwangju will be aiming for a water circulation city, and we're working on improving the infrastructure for the circulation. Also, we want to have forests and parks within the city, just 10 minutes away from everyone. And these initiatives are linked to the citizens' movements, and we want to create a sustainable village. And this is linked to industrializing the villages and also creating jobs for the villages. And so I have talked about the 2045 net zero vision for Gwangju. And we will be revamping and working on our energy structure. And we can compare that to the energy structure of what Korea has as well. And it is an ambitious vision. It will not be easy. However, Gwangju will be preemptive. We will be in the lead as we travel on the road towards net zero. We will be working with the member cities of UEA, and I hope that we can share more information together.
Presentation. The presentation was, I guess, very informative and provocative. So the energy independence and the net zero emission by 2045, it is quite ambitious. Also a huge ambitious plan from Gwangju metropolitan city. For example, they have developed the urban climate assessment system for urban area for Gwangju metropolitan city area, and they have also developed the carbon management systems. Also, such a science-based system, also such a science-based assessment system is quite useful for decision makers. Also, for decision making, it is quite also this information provided by such a system is quite useful for decision makers. So thank you. Thank you. Our next presenter is Suman Adhikari of Kathmandu Metropolitan City, presenting on carbon neutrality best practice of Nepal. He is waiting online. Could you please start?
Yes, thank you. Kamsahayo.
You are ready. Okay.
Good afternoon. Anihangso. Greetings from Nepal. I am Suman Adhikari from Kathmandu Metropolitan City Office. My presentation is National Net Zero Carbon Neutrality. Please listen. The Republic of Nepal. Nepal is a republic country. Area is 147516 kilometer per square. Population is this. Density 203 per square kilometer in Nepal. Nepal's map is this. A brief introduction of Nepal. Nepal is a landlocked country in South Asia and is bordered by China and India. The government system is a federal parliamentary republic. The chief of state is the president and the head of government is the prime minister. A brief introduction. The country on the southern slopes of the Himalayas is home to 8 of the world's 10 highest peaks, including Mount Everest. You know Mount Everest, 8,848.86 meter on the border between Nepal and Tibet. Lhotse is 8,560 meter on the border between Tibet and Nepal. Tibet in China. Makalu is 8,463 meter on the border between Nepal and Tibet, and Guangzhou is 8,586 meter on the border with Sikkim, India. Dhaulagiri at 8,167 meters is the highest mountain located within the borders on the country. Nepal is known as the source of famous river, the Ganges, India. Many of the main tributaries of the Ganges originate in Nepal. The Kwanki, Kosi, Bagmati, and Gandaki are feeder rivers of the Ganges. Ganges is the India's most famous river. Kathmandu, the city of temples and capital city of the Nepal, Pokhara, is the city of the gateway to the Annapurna circuit, a 160 to 230 kilometer long trek that encircles the Annapurna massif. Bauddha Stupa. Bodhanath is our Buddha, Lord Buddha. In the outskirts of the Kathmandu is one of the largest ephemeral stupas in Nepal. The Maya Devi is the Gautam Buddha mother in Lumbini, the place where Lord Buddha was born. Swayambhunath, the ancient religious complex atop a hill in the Kathmandu Valley, west of Kathmandu. The Pashupatinath temple is the scared Hindu temple complex, is located on the banks of the Bagmati river in Kathmandu, Nepal Valley. Nepal will best practice carbon neutrality of Nepal. Nepal will receive $5 for every ton of carbon dioxide emissions reduced as country embarks on earning up to $42 million by selling 9 million tons of carbon dioxide by 2025. Nepal, major natural resources in Nepal is water resources, hydropower, forest, and diverse other biological resources, biodiversity. In here is 3 major natural resources. Nepal sees greenhouse gases contribution to the global emissions is the only 0.06% based on greenhouse gases inventory 2017 for third national communication, but people and resources of Nepal are vulnerable to the adverse effects of climate change. In Nepal, it is likely to contribute carbon-intensive energy used to achieve economic and infrastructure development objectives, policy measures on carbon tax, fossil fuel use reduction, clean energy use, or conversion of a carbon-intensive fuel to clean energy-based vehicles or appliances may not be adopted and implemented in the near future. The Nepal government signed a multi-million-dollar agreement with the World Bank's Forest Carbon Partnership Facility. Our forest resources is the forest coverage is 40.36%. Area coverage by forest and other wooded land 44.74%. More than 25,000 community-based forest management groups across the country are directly engaged in managing about 30% of the country's total forest area. The Nepal, a global partnership of governments, business organizations, civil society, and indigenous groups, organization for reducing emissions by protecting forests. As a least developed country, Nepal is eligible to sell a carbon to developed countries that want to be offset their emissions under the reducing emissions through the deforestation and degradation RED program. Nepal is the 5th country in the Asia Pacific and 12th in the world to sign such a milestone agreement with the Forest Carbon Partnership Facility. The agreement has been touted as a landmark achievement for the country, as this would be the first financial support for Nepal for keeping its emissions low. Nepal, home to 6.61 million hectares of forest and other wooded lands, 44.74% of the total area, has the potential to generate revenue from the carbon financing by participating in the RED Plus program. Nepal has been working for several years to become eligible for carbon trading or generate revenue by selling carbon stored in the forest. Nepal is expected to reduce 9 million tons of carbon dioxide emissions in the Tarai Arc landscape. For each ton of carbon dioxide emissions reduced, Nepal will receive $5 in return. According to estimates, forest cover in 13 districts can reduce 34 million tons of carbon dioxide between 2018 to 2028, out of which 23%, 7.9 million tons cannot be sold as they are kept as a buffer. Nepal will work towards improving management practices in existing community-based forest management. Likewise, to communities that can work on restoring them, it shall also support and promote private sector forest. Nearly 30,000 hectares of private forest exist in 13 districts. The government also aims to encourage the use of alternative energy resources as well as work on leasehold forest. Likewise, it plans to improve integrated land use planning to reduce forest conservation for infrastructure development and promote better management of existing protected areas in the country. This is our vehicle in Kathmandu. We move this kind of Safa tempo forest conservation pictures. This is Himalayan Mount Everest. This is our also mountain. The Nepal government and the World Bank have signed the agreement unlocking the potential to get $45 million in revenue from carbon trade. The country may not get the whole amount. The amount quoted is maximum Nepal can receive under the program. Picture, a tiger, and it's a Nepal forest. Pictures, Kathmandu, alternative energy in solar estate. This is our temple. Thanks for kind attention. In our also, I can little bit I'll add. We have hydropower. Technical potential is 80,000 megawatt. Economic potential 45,000 megawatt. At present, only about 2% of the potential is being exploited. The government aims to develop 5,373 megawatt of reservoir projects within the 2026. Similarly, it aims to develop 1,975 megawatt of peaking run of river projects. Similarly, it aims to develop a peaking the run of the river projects. There are also 107 projects in different phases of construction. They will add 2,587 megawatt of electricity generation capacity in the next 10 years. Nepal is planning to generate clean energy as follows: 4,000 megawatt hydroelectricity by 2020 and 12,000 megawatt by 2030. 2,100 megawatt of solar energy by 2030 with arrangements to distribute it through the grid, national grid. Additional 220 megawatt of electricity from bioenergy by 2030. Additional 50 megawatt of electricity from small and micro hydropower plants. Increase the share of a biogas up to 10% as energy for cooking in rural areas, and equip every household in rural areas with smokeless improved cooking stoves by 2030. Environment-friendly local governance also are in framework. Objectives of environment-friendly of local governance framework is to mainstream environment, climate change adaptation, and disaster management in the local planning processes. Some of the activities that the framework prioritizes include promote renewable and clean energy and energy efficient options, increase greenery through tree plantation and management of gardens and park, plant trees in the least 10% of the current open barren land, promote rainwater harvesting and ponds construction, enhance waste management through environment-friendly technology. Thank you. Thank you. 감사해요.
네. Thank you, Suman. Martin,
Welcome.
for your good presentation. It was quite informative. Especially, you are saying your RED Plus program in Nepal, Kathmandu. So I congratulate your RED Plus program. Thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you. Welcome.
Yeah. Our next presenter is also waiting online. Aysen Eredinkula from Istanbul Metropolitan City Government of Turkey. He will make a presentation on climate change action plan revision studies. Aysen, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. I'm going to share my screen. Thank you very much. Where is it? Here we go.
Okay, you can start now.
Yes, I guess you can see it, right?
I can see you very clearly.
Okay, perfect. So I would like to thank you for inviting me to this nice summit, basically. And today I'm going to talk to you about the revision of Istanbul's climate action plan to reach net zero by 2050. Well, Turkey is one of the countries in the risky region in terms of climate change. In this summer, we had, unfortunately, 299 forest fires, and we have lost 70 people in the flood disasters in the Black Sea region. So I can say that the risk is getting gradually increasing, basically. On the other hand, Istanbul is a very big city with a population of, registered population of 15.5 and 6 million. But with the immigrants, you know, and the refugees, etc., it's approaching to 20 million. So it's very difficult to manage such a big city, obviously. And the projected climate change impacts in Istanbul is the evolution of the climate to the Mediterranean climate with temperature increases. Normally, Istanbul has a climate in combination of Mediterranean and the Black Sea climates. But unfortunately, it's getting closer to the Mediterranean, which is much more, you know, hot and dry compared to the Black Sea. And the formation of urban heat islands, again, just caused by the heat waves, decrease in precipitation, increased evaporation sweating, and prolonged dry seasons and forest fires. These are the threats, basically. Istanbul is the member of a covenant of mayors on a voluntary basis. So in this context, we prepared our first action plan in 2018. The greenhouse emission reduction targets in this report was 33% for 2030 and 35% for 2050. Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality is the only municipality in Turkey that is the member of the C40 cities. The deadline, our mayor, Mr. Ekrem İmamoğlu, signed deadline 2020 in October 2019, and he accepted the goal of making Istanbul carbon neutral and resilient by 2050. So this necessitated the revision of our cap prepared in 2018 because we have to meet the new standards or the new targets of the deadline 2020. Well, our revision studies started with the data collection and modeling of the current situation and the future scenarios. Then we have to organize IMM stakeholder. IMM is the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, by the way. Stakeholder mitigation workshops, modeling of scenarios for planned actions, organizing of stakeholder adaptation workshops, again, determination of mitigation and the adaptation actions. And finally, we will be ready for the publication of the new action plan in line with the 2050 carbon neutral target. Well, data collection stage is the first stage, and when we look at the sectoral distribution of the greenhouse gas inventory in 2019, you will see that the biggest contribution comes from stationary energy sector by 63%, and it has been followed by transportation with 28%, and the waste is 9%. Actually, out of 9, 8 comes from solid waste, and 1% comes from water and wastewater. By the way, our inventory study has the distinction of being the first among European cities in terms of urban population density. And our 2019 total emission amount was about 50.9 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Well, modeling of the current situation and future scenarios was the second step, actually, and we have modeled 4 different scenarios. The first one is the business as usual, and current and the planned scenario, planned actions in the CAP 2018, and then we created ambitious scenario to meet the new, deadline 2020 target. And then we have seen that, after the modeling of it, we have seen that it will not be enough to meet the target. So that's the reason we have prepared extended ambitious scenario. Well, as you can see from scenario comparison of the PET-based model, the first one, the orange one, is the business as usual case emissions. It is gradually increasing because normally you don't do anything extra to the current situation. The second one, which is the brownish one, is the existing and planned scenario in Istanbul CAP 2018. While, as you can see, that up to 2030, emissions are decreasing, but later on, it's increasing gradually. So we have created, as I mentioned before, ambitious scenario, which is the yellow one over here. And the emissions are gradually decreasing, but it is impossible to reach the deadline 2020 target with that one. As you can see, that deadline 2020 emission target has been shown with the red line. And we have prepared extended ambitious scenario, which is green in this graph. And it is possible to reach the deadline 2020 emission targets with that one. So we have selected this one as our current scenario. Well, in this extended ambitious scenario, the targeted reduction rates, greenhouse emission reduction rates are by 2030 it will be 52.2%, by 2040 89.4%, and 2050 we will reach to 100%. Well, our adaptation studies based on the climate risk assessment. So all of these works are done to make Istanbul resistant to any effect of the climate change. The first step was the preparation of the Istanbul climate risk assessment report. And with this report, we determined the climate threats waiting for Istanbul, sectoral vulnerabilities, fragile group analysis, and the compliance policies. Based on this assessment report, then adaptation strategies and actions have been established for Istanbul. While CAP mitigation and adaptation prioritized actions of Istanbul is very important, obviously. Action developments process was constructed through a multi-stakeholder workshop. We have prepared first the long list of actions by getting inputs from IMM departments, and then we screened them depending on the C40 criteria. Then we made the workshop, and during the workshop, we scored the actions and decreased the number to 80. And finally, during the, again, workshop, stakeholders voted the actions, and we have decreased the number of the actions to 21. So these were the priority actions. Prioritized mitigation actions are promoting measures to improve energy efficiency of all buildings. This is for building and energy sector, obviously. And this scale new clean energy development and taking additional measures towards the renewable energy generation, energy and water saving in the projects planned by subsidiary firms of the IMM, Kiptaş and Bimtaş. So transportation actions, making existing roads suitable for cyclists and creating new paths for bicycles, electrifying buses, park and ride expansion, and application of some congestion charges in certain areas. Water and wastewater actions, revised building municipal code to encourage water use, again, on-site water reuse and the recycling, managing supply lines, drinking water network with the smart systems, supporting wastewater recovery and reuse, and application of the sustainable rainwater solution. This is very important, rainwater harvesting. And the waste actions basically covers the recovery of the waste to put it into production line again, and the new transfer stations for optimization of waste transportations, and developing some programs to reduce completely to avoid, any discarded foods substance during the, processing, etc. And the capture landfill gas and use it for energy production, again, to avoid the direct methane emission to the atmosphere. Prioritized adaptation actions were for extreme heat in public room and citywide, the tree planting in public spaces and cooling systems for critical infrastructures. Again, for drafts, increasing urban water storage capacity and preventing loss of function through the leakage. For flooding and sea level rise, reclaim streams and green riverbanks, and improve road drainage and keep the drains clean. And for the food security, backyard and community gardening in vacant lots and parks, and also roadside urban fringe agriculturing. So, well, do I have time? Yes, I guess I have a little bit more time. Well, we have all experienced this COVID-19 pandemic. So with that one, green recovery became a very important issue for Istanbul also. Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality aims for environmental sensitive, sustainable future. So IMM investments are planned with the perspective prioritizing environmental impacts. And recently we have just signed a Green City Action Plan memorandum with EBRD. So it will be possible for us to, put some projects that will be supported by the EBRD. And there are many examples of these projects. If I have time, I would like to share with you on, public transportation or waste management, or water management kind of things. So all of them are very, very important and will serve to the to the sustainable development of the Istanbul, obviously. So I would like to thank you.
Thank you, Eisen. This presentation also, your presentation was so informative. So, especially the Istanbul's action plan is so ambitious, and I think it is very bright and ambitious. And Istanbul's reduction, for example, reduction rate of Istanbul, city of Istanbul, is 52.2% by 2030. It's quite ambitious, I guess. Thank you again. Thank you, Aisen. Now, we want to go back to the stage. We have Mr. Kwangsun Jeon from Jeollanam-do Provincial Government of the Republic of Korea. He will present 2050 net zero in the province and the citizen movement. Please come to share your presentation. Please, Mr. Jeon.
네, 안녕하십니까.
Good afternoon. I am Jeong Kwang-sun, Manager of Climate and Ecology from Jeollanam-do Provincial Government. Right here in YEOSU, last March, we declared the Jeollanam-do Province 2050 carbon neutrality vision or net zero vision. And so through this vision, we have set 4 strategies and about 102 carbon reduction projects. And also, we have agreements on global agreements on the climate and the Race to Zero program of UN. And we are participating in these kinds of international efforts as well. We are strengthening our collaboration with cities around the world. So in the environment and net zero sector area, there's been a lot of cooperation in the international community, and it's an honor for Jeollanam-do Province to be presenting our situation at this UEA YEOSU Summit. Also, to the participants here, the member cities, I'd like to thank you for your support as well. Our 2050 vision and citizens implementation actions, that will be the title of my presentation. I will share with you a short video.
네, 여러분이 보시.
So as you have seen, right now, the world is suffering from excessive carbon emissions and global warming. We are experiencing unprecedented forest fire, flooding, and a drought. In the case of Europe, they had a 1,000-year torrential rain leading to much damage. In the case of North America, because of excessively high temperature, they continued to have record-breaking heat waves, which is leading to forest fire. In Asia also, there's been torrential rain in Hunan province in China and landslides in Japan. And also in the Jeollanam-do province, our province, in 2020, we had the longest rainy season ever, and other extreme weather events happened. So over the past 100 years, temperature has risen by 1.8 degrees, and recently we are seeing the acceleration of global warming and climate change. If we don't take countermeasures immediately, this speed will accelerate even further, thus bringing about more catastrophe and damage. There's another video that I'd like to share with you.
네, 지난
In 2015, at the 21st COP meeting, the new regime, Paris Agreement, was agreed upon, and Korea also declared the 2050 net zero vision last year. And Jeollanam-do, our province, in March declared our net zero vision and are taking the initiative for implementation. Until 2030, we will have to reduce our emissions by about 24.4%, and we are planning for carbon neutrality by 2050. Jeollanam-do province also is trying to use its natural resources, and it is pursuing implementation policies through which by 2030 we hope to reduce our emissions by about 30% and thus reach net zero by 2050. 2050 Jeollanam-do net zero vision is to have a carbon-free, healthy future, clean Jeonnam. And our goal is to realize the net zero Jeollanam-do by 2050. We have 4 major areas. First, in energy, we will have a 11.4 gigawatt wind farm complex established, and also the renewables proportion will become 100% by 2040. And also LNG and CCUS technologies, related blue hydrogen, and new renewable energy-based green hydrogen projects and the technologies will be developed. And in industry, in the YEOSU Industrial Complex and Gwangyang Bay area, we will be retrofitting these complexes to make it a smart and green industrial complex. And we will also have the highly emitting petrochemical industries use more LNG and hydrogen power and other eco-friendly transition by 2050. In transportation, by 2050, we're going to have 100% EV penetration, and the agricultural equipments and small electric vehicles within the province will also be expanded. By 2050, we will be planting about 10 million trees every year and to use them as carbon sinks, and we will be forming more forests. And after declaration of our vision, we have taken follow-up measures. So we have established the carbon cleaning plan and strategy, and we will have the GHG Management Center established, formation of a management council and committee as well. And Jeollanam-do's Climate Response Fund will also be formed in the future. This is another video for you.
네,
However, net zero is impossible without the support of all of our residents. So we are working with our civic organizations and the local governments in order to reduce our carbon footprint. So we are engaging in this carbon hunter movement throughout the province, and we are actively We are encouraging active participation in zero waste movements, as well as our carbon hunting campaigns. And we are also conducting the one person, one ton GHG reduction campaign throughout the province. And the carbon point system for the households is being provided as an incentive to the residents. And for the summer and the winter seasons, so we have a warm clothing wearing campaign and also eco-friendly holidays campaign and many other different campaigns to promote carbon neutrality in the daily lives of our residents. And we're going to be producing eco-friendly energy, change to an industrial structure that is low emitting, and have 100% eco-friendly vehicles and buildings established. These will be the basic direction of our policies. And for our future generation and to overcome climate crisis, Jeollanam-do will be taking the lead in the effort for net zero. Thank you very much.
Also, Jeollanam-do has so good and wide range of net zero emission plan. And many thanks again for sharing us. And actually, Jeollanam-do provincial government is our UEA new member, just become a new member. So big applause for that. Now I want to turn over to moderator. Please take it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you all for the presentation, and thank you, Secretary General, for chairing this session. Now, before we finish the first half of the session, let's have about 5 minutes of the Q&A session. So if anyone has a question at the venue, at the floor, please raise your hand. And anyone online live stream, you can leave a comment and question on the chat. So, okay. So any other further comments to make? Okay. Okay, thank you. And okay, I think that is it for the first part. So now we will have about 5 minutes of a break from now, and see you at the second part of the session. Thank you very much for the attention. Thank you.
Of cities gathered to respond to the climate crisis and realize a sustainable
아, 연락은 됐죠? 예, 그렇습니다. 예. 예, 감사합니다. 지금 정해진 5분의 휴식 시간이 지금 거의 지난 관계로
Time is up. Break is over. Please take your seats.
5 minutes of the given time for the break. And please take your seat and please get ready for the beginning of the second part of our UEA member session series. Thank you.
Okay, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone, to the second part of the session. This is for sharing best practices for realizing sustainable cities. Please note that each present will be given just 10 minutes. Now, I want to invite Mr. Zheng Mao Pangxiang from Taipei City Government. He will present the promotion of voluntary local review of SDGs practice in Taipei. Please say okay if we are ready.
Okay,
Zheng?
thank you. Good afternoon,
Welcome.
ladies and gentlemen. I am Zheng Mao Fanjiang from DEP of Taipei City Government. Today, I'm glad to share the practice of promoting SDGs for 2021 Taipei City Voluntary Local Review with you. Let's glance at Taipei first. Taipei is the highest population density city in Taiwan, with 2.76 million people living in a 270 square kilometers. The climate of Taipei is warm and rainy, but sustainable and suitable for traveling. It is a fascinating place, fusing Chinese and Western culture. We welcome you to visit Taipei when the pandemic control is eased. Now, back to the topic. The United Nations has declared 70 SDGs since 2015. There are more than 30 cities publishing voluntary local review, VLR, for the SDG progress. Taipei is honored to be in line with these global trends and has published 3 VLR in 3 consecutive years since 2019. So how did Taipei conduct the review of SDGs? We reviewed the definition and the targets of all SDGs, corresponding to all city governments' policies and strategies, and also the indicators. We discussed with many departments and the stakeholders and the NGOs, and even gather the feedback from the citizens. So in 2019, we reviewed 7 prioritized SDGs for our first VLR. In 2020, we focused 11 goals and focus on the COVID-19 prevention and control measures. In this year, we published the special issues of climate actions due to the global trends of net zero emissions. On Earth Day of this year, Taipei City Government announced to pursue the goal of net zero emissions by 2050, taking responsibility of global carbon reduction for Paris Agreement and working with the global communities to ensure climate safety. So the city government worked to inventory all the strategies and the policies of city government. This figure shows the review results and the relationships of the Taipei's climate actions among SDG 13 and the other SDGs. If we take the tree as the framework of the Taipei City government to promote the SDG and net zero emissions in Taipei, then the roof is the city transformation driving force based on climate actions. The truck is the strategy and policies foundation for all aspects of sustainable development considerations. And the branches are the six strategies of net zeros. Then the net zero emissions is the flowering for the final goal to achieve. So the following is the highlights of the 2021 Taipei City Voluntary Local Review. It can be simply divided into three aspects, that is environmental, social, and economical. Actually, Taipei has taken 4 actions in response to climate change. The greenhouse gas emissions has reduced 11.3% in 2019 compared to 2005. On the other hand, Taipei City government promotes sponge city policy for climate adaptation. We would like to build a city that can retain water, can run out rapidly, and lower urban temperature by introducing low-impact development into urban design. And a typical example is to constructing permeable pavement of the public facilities. Taipei City government will to double the area of the permeable pavement by 2030. So this is the environmental results with the 7 SDGs with the vision of friendly environment and the green city. So here given an example for the Taipei City to promote sustainable cities for SDG 11. Taipei City improves air quality by conducting the Clean Air Action Plan. We set up the first air quality maintenance zones of metropolitan area in Taiwan with 9 sites. Moreover, the city government would like to construct a fleet of 3,500 city buses to go electric by 2030. On the other hand, we subsidize the electric motorcycles, taking 35% market share of new motorcycles by 2030. So Taipei City government have ambitions to further reduce PM 2.5 concentrations to meet 10 microgram per cubic meters to meet the WHO guidelines by 2030. This is the economical review results with the vision of green economy and prosperous Taipei. So the typical practical example is to create a circular city with SDG 12. Taipei City aims to promote the recovery rate to 70% by 2030. But the waste reduction is always the first consideration prior to recycling and reuse. To further decrease the amount of waste and to protect the citizens of health, Taipei City government banned on single-use tableware and the melamine tableware, beginning from the public agencies and schools. Now, more and more corporates and the night markets and the supermarkets has voluntarily followed the action due to the self-awareness and the social responsibility. On the other hand, the city government also promote the dual-use plastic bags. which can be used as shopping bags and the official garbage bags. These two bags in one policy can be reduced almost to 20 million plastic bags each year. This is the social reviews for 7 SDGs results with the vision of friendly, inclusive, and shared society. Here I give the example for the Taipei's green transportation system. The Taipei has built excellent transportation. The backbone of the network is the Taipei Metro with 2 million passengers each day. The city bus routes is connected to the metro stations and the transfer to the metro routes. Then the 13,000 public bikes with 400 rental stations are the last miles connected to the destination for the most of citizens. Besides, Taipei City Government also create the systems for the friendly environment for bicycles and the pedestrians. We especially construct the systems for shared vehicles of the new electric motorcycles and new electric cars. By this means, the Taipei City Government will have the ambitions to further promote the percentage of green transportation to the 70% by 2030. Finally, here are the 6 critical strategies to the net zero emissions concerning SDG promotions. In addition to the renewable energy, Taipei City Government will accelerate the development of carbon neutral buildings, green transportations, and electrical vehicles. And also, Taipei City aims to create a green economy and a circular economy driven by governmental procurements of low carbon products, and more importantly, investment of innovation. So for the future prospects of Taipei, Taipei City will implement SDGs by 2030 as a milestone. Taipei City will accelerate the city transformation by public and private partnership and cooperating with other cities to fulfill the net zero emissions by 2050 along with the world. So we wish you good health and safety during the pandemic. With this, I end my remark. Thank you.
Thank you, Chen Mao, for your good presentation. And thank you for sharing us Taipei's good experiences. I find it excellent idea, for example, especially the idea, the SDG linked framework to net zero emissions. The idea is, I find it excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing us. I want to invite next presenter. He is Bonnie Hang from Phnom Penh, Cambodia. He will present Phnom Penh best practice on urban development. Please say okay if you are ready. Bonnie, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Hi, Bonnie.
Greeting from Cambodia, ladies and gentlemen, Secretariat of UEA YEOSU Summit, and thank you to the guest speaker and all participants. I'm going to present about Phnom Penh best practice on urban development. Here is the content of my presentation. First of all, I will talk about Phnom Penh today and talk a little bit about challenges. And we have some policy, legal framework for urban development, solution for Phnom Penh Development Initiative, as well as conclusion. You can see the area of Phnom Penh. This is more than and also population compared to 2008 to 2019, almost a double population. These are two things that increase of population is not mean that the good, but the bad also accompanied. As well as annual growth rate 2018 to 2019. Yeah, you can see almost double population. Density from 2008, 2,212 per square kilometers, but in 2009 the population is increased from 2,200 to 3,300 per square kilometers. In Phnom Penh today, we have the area of division area for 14 districts and economical based on trading, garment, and also tourism. But unfortunately, today is we are facing for almost 2 years of pandemic. Then tourism more obstacle, and then it really affect to the economic in Cambodia. About the GDP in Cambodia, you can see overall in 2009, $1,205 US per capita. But we can talk about the Phnom Penh city. In 2005, GDP $820 per capita, but 2019 is increased up to $2,534 per capita. You can see Phnom Penh today, the view of high building, and then also some typical of the front colonial. We have the nice view building of the city in Phnom Penh today. Key challenges, you know, the population increased as shown in the number as a previous slides. And that's why the number of population is affect to the traffic and also the urban growth economy as well. Rural exodus, lack of urban transportation network, lack of public space, urban green space, lack of detailed plan for district and local development, like plan, law, regulation, lack of application of and lack of civic education. The consequence of urban sprawl in areas suffer insufficient public equipment, urban sanitation issues, traffic, distressed and friendly city, deterioration of urban environment due to traffic and waste, lack of coherence between existing city and new urban development project. Source of major urban problem is a lack of regulation on public space using and fund, private owner of the ground floor. You know, in Cambodia, more business, the building or house in the city related to the ground floor is more expensive than second and the top floor. If you buy the apartment, the ground floor are more expensive. That's why they take advantage of business along the ground floors. Sidewalk has lost, you know, it's in development process. Lack of accompanying law, lack of rehabilitation public transport network. According to the issues and challenges, government have the policy framework for urban development, the rectangular strategy phase 4, and especially we're looking for the rectangular number 4, inclusive and sustainable development. And with this angle, the number 3 talk about the strengthening management of urbanization. For the regulation strategy phase 4, we have a national strategic development plan for 2019 to 2023 and promote urban development with a good and clean living city. Yeah. However, we have some policy, we have some planning, we have some practice and law order regulation for support to implement of this housing and also the land for the development of the city. The kind of policy and legal framework, we have the National Policy of Housing, 2014, the National Policy of Spatial Planning, 2011, and we have different legal framework to support how to develop the city to be environmental friendly and housing support and land securing as well. We have a law, Road 2014, we have circular land law and law of land management, urban planning and construction. However, in order to implement of all the legal framework, we have also mechanism. We have a royal degree of a committee for land management, sub-degree organized and functioning to Secretariat General of a Committee for the Land Management Urban Planning in 2013, royal degree, sub-degree, not only for the land but for the sea as well. This is the mechanism of spatial and urban planning, and some degree, some sub-degree, royal degree, also support for implementation on it. Why so slow? Can you hear me, right?
I guess so the connection is unstable. Can you hear me, Bonnie?
Can you hear me?
Bonnie? I guess we have a problem.
The slides are not working now.
Oh, you can hear me? Please continue. Please go on.
Thank you. The slides are not moving.
Bonnie, we have connection problem now. We have to stop here. We cannot hear you clearly. We can see you, but we cannot hear you.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, many thanks, Bonnie, for your good presentation and for sharing us your experiences and the good reduction policies of Phnom Penh. Many thanks for that. Bonnie, bye, Bonnie. As the next presenter, I want to invite Mr. Noel Hechanova from Iloilo City, the Philippines. He will present Clean Air and Climate Change Protection Program of Iloilo City. Noel, please say okay if you are ready. Noel?
Yes, Secretary General, I am ready. Nice to be with you again.
Nice to meet you. Nice to see you.
Okay, I'm ready. Um, okay. So, I'd like to give you a brief background of our city. So we are a city located in central Philippines, and annually we are visited by typhoons. By my rough estimate, around 20% of the typhoon entering the Philippines. We have a daytime population of more than 500,000, and we are a highly urbanized city with a robust economy. So just like many other rapidly urbanizing cities in the Philippines, we have our own issues, and our rapid urbanization is due to the increasing importance of the city in the development of our region. No? We are the center of governance, economic hub, and center of education. So we find it hard to control also our growth because of this. And transportation is, demand for it is greater than ever, as car and motorcycle sales are increasing faster than commercial vehicles due to affordable car loans, lack of efficient transport system, and of course, the rising middle class of the city. And then there is also urban chaos, as just like Phnom Penh, walking in downtown area has become unsafe as cars and motorcycles take over pedestrian lanes. No? This has significantly contributed to the congestions of the commercial district. Then, of course, traffic is also getting worse in Iloilo as the average commuting time increases from 30 to 55 minutes. That is from residential areas to downtown CBD. And what we found out is that mobile sources is responsible for elevated particulate matter emission, high level of nitrogen dioxide, and high level of volatile organic compound. And in our studies, mobile combustion accounts for 42.7% of the city's total greenhouse gas emission. And then there is the low public awareness on energy efficiency and conservation. Electricity consumption is also responsible for 43.9% of the total GHG emission of the city. And streetlights and public facilities accounts for the city's, or 8% of the city's energy consumption. So over the years, we have been implementing various interventions, and we have been an active member of ECLIA since 2005. We have adopted the Cities for Climate Change Protection Program. And in 2012, we have adopted the co-benefit concept of reducing emissions. No? That is, all emission reduction measures were aimed at reducing air pollution and carbon emission. So here, several measures, which I will be discussing in details in the next succeeding slides, are our policies and measures. No? Traffic reform, energy efficiency, and green building initiatives, GHG accounting, and others. So we have done some benchmarking also, and the earliest studies that we did was in 2011, and this is all about an inventory of air pollutants in collaboration with 3 universities, GTSET and Clean Air Asia. The pollutants covered nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter, volatile organic compound, and carbon dioxide. And of course, the output for this is the emission inventory report. And much later, because of this, we were able to develop the Iloilo City Clean Air Plan. Then in 2012 and 2015, we did a GHG accounting in collaboration, again, with the same 3 universities, and this time with USAID. This helped us develop the Iloilo City GHG Management Framework Plan of 2013 and 2016. This is just to show you the comparison of the study, the GHG study, I mean, in 2012 and 2015. Please notice that in 2012, transportation accounts for bulk of the GHG emission of the city. This is followed by electricity. But in 2015, this transportation and electricity almost tied up as the city's biggest contributor to GHG emission. This is our first emission reduction program. This is actually a policy establishing jeepneys and bus terminals in the city's boundary. So with this policy, we were able to avoid more than 29 tons of greenhouse gas daily. And of course, we were able to avoid nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and particulate matter. So the status of these terminals are in place and are working. Then we entered into a program of fuel retrofitting. So this is a design for taxis, and some 430 taxis followed us, and over 6 million kilos of greenhouse gas are avoided per year because of this program. The status of this program is discontinued. Then we have the lamp retrofitting campaign, one of our earliest programs to reduce greenhouse gas. And the number of lamps converted in a span of 3 years was more than 10,000. And the power we saved is more than 6,000 kilowatt hour per day, or in peso term, this is more than 82,000 per day that we save in monetary value. So greenhouse gas avoided is more than 3.7 tons per day. This is a continuing program. Then the lamp retrofitting campaign was introduced to the private sector. We invited the mall, and the first mall to respond was the Robinsons Mall. And the mall was able to convert more than 2,000 lamps. And the power that they saved was more than 85,000 kilowatt hour per day, and the greenhouse gas avoided was more than 50 tons per day. This is a continuing program, actually. Then we have piloted also the solar-assisted air conditioning in our own city hall. The savings that we have for this was more than 4,500 kilowatt hour per month, and we save around 55,000 pesos per month. No? Greenhouse gas avoided is more than 36 tons per month. Status, this is in place, no? And it's working. And then in 2009, we passed the city's first renewable energy ordinance. This is an ordinance providing 20% tax incentive for households utilizing renewable energy. So greenhouse gas is at the household level. No? This is a continuing program also. Then our recent lamp retrofitting initiatives covers again street light, this time from CFL to LED. So more than 1.6 million of kilowatt hour per year of energy were saved, and that is along the city streets, and along the national roads, more than 43,000 kilowatt hour per year were also saved. Total greenhouse gas avoided is 911 tons of CO2 per year. This is an ongoing project. We are going into solar this time. And the promotion of renewable energy, we first introduced this to the commercial malls. Again, Robinsons Mall responded, and more than 563 kilowatt were installed, and an annual yield of 898,673 kilowatt hours. No? Annual savings is 20%. Estimated CO2 avoided is 432 tons. And we were able to replicate this program to 3 other malls, no, afterwards. So this is an ongoing project of the city to convince commercial establishment to join us in our effort to put in renewable energy. So renewable energy was not only introduced to the malls, but also to the schools. And one of the schools that responded to us is the John B. Lacson University. So a pilot project involving rooftop solar system was put in place with an installed capacity of 70 kilowatt and a monthly yield of more than 8,000 kilowatt hour and a monthly cost savings of 20,000 pesos. Carbon dioxide avoided per year is 57 tons. This is also an ongoing project. There are more than four universities installing their own solar panels now. And then we did not only promote solar energy, but water conservation as well. So a pilot water conservation program was introduced in Robinson's Mall, and the pilot project involved wastewater recovery, rain harvesting, cooling tower, blow down return. So the energy saved was estimated at 6,808 kilowatt hour per year, or a cost saving of 72,573 pesos. So project is ongoing. Then we also promoted carless day events. This was piloted in one school whereby parents and teachers were encouraged to observe a one-day carless trip to schools and back. So more than 1,000 carless trips were noted. And because of this, more than 5 tons of GHG was avoided. This is an ongoing program of the city. And then a study on carbon sequestration potential of mangroves in Iloilo Batiano River was conducted. This is a study covering mangrove forests sporadically located in Iloilo Batiano River. Yes?
Yeah, please try to summarize it. We have many, too many presenters. Sorry.
This is my last 3 slides. So this is a study duly supported by laboratory analysis of carbon capture above and below ground. This helped us understand, gave us an idea how to reduce CO2. So some other programs to reduce carbon is promotion of cycling and walking, and then this is a plan for our bicycle lanes in the city, and of course, to boost our public awareness, we developing 3 parks, no? And one of that is a mangrove park, which is shown here. And of course, we are also campaigning to reduce indoor pollution and rainwater conservation at the community level. And the key challenges for COVID-19 is the options for safer and eco-friendly mode of transport, provisions for non-motorized transport, inclusive mobility for all, and the next step for WEOSU is a non-motorized transport improvement and walkability improvement. So thank you very much for your kind attention. That's all.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you for good presentation and for sharing Iloilo's reduction strategies that are consistent with the Paris Climate Agreement. Many thanks for that. As the next presenter, I want to invite Mayor Pongu Celtus Tanwe from Bamenda, Street Council, Cameroon. He'll present Bamenda City, a green city, a livable city. The video clip is now ready. It's ready? Yeah, thank you.
The Bamenda 3 city, a green city, a livable city. Welcome to the city of Bamenda. The city of Bamenda is located some 366 kilometers in the northwest part of the country, Cameroon, and makes up a population of approximately 3 million people with a tropical savanna climate considered as a tropical monsoon climate with a long summer wet season and considerable less rainfall in winter. Being the capital of one of the regions of a developing country, the city of Bamenda has the environmental potential of observing and managing green spaces that are constructively designed and maintained. It's rather unfortunate that the natural environment is deteriorating at a rate faster than the rate natural occurring processes and resources available within the environment can be replenished. Talking of the environmental hazards in the city of Bamenda, the incidences of landslides, flooding, sporadic fire outbreaks, collapse of major roads, access, houses and bridges, poor waste management, to name a few, characterize the urban centers in the Bamenda city that is left unattended to and have potential of plugging the city into an abyss of environmental chaos. Talking about the environmental hazards in the city of Bamenda and its limitations to securing a green and livable city, the deteriorating environmental condition of the city has been labeled on lots of reasons, centering around the rural exodus observed at an escalating rate in the past 4 years due to the socio-political crisis in the region, inappropriate system of land administration, poverty, overall anarchy, ignorance of handling environmental issues, and poor waste management are some of the limitations to securing a green city in its entirety. To emphasize more on the different environmental hazards plaguing the city of Bamenda, it has been observed that over the years, different threats to the environment has been bushfiring that has been a recurrent and persistent environmental malpractice, making it a threat to water supply catchments, farming, and wildlife. Furthermore, the dumping of plastics and non-biodegradable products is very rampant in the city, hence limiting the city's initiative to a great extent. A fall in the living standards of the population and the economic degradation makes up one of the key factors why initiatives to protect the environment are unattended to, due to the fact that all what suffices the populace is to earn a living and provide daily bread for their families. Notwithstanding, efforts and actions have been made by Bamenda 3 city municipal authorities in birthing and valorizing the environment and enhancing sustainable development. In order to revalorize and birth environmental protection initiatives, the Bamenda city has over the years engaged youth organizations in advocacy for green economy, green environment, and sensitization and radio talks on the importance of tree planting and environmental protection. They have as well encouraged the usage of tires for home gardening. The efforts and actions made by Bamenda 3 city municipal authorities to birthing and valorizing the environment and enhancing environmental sustainability includes engaging stakeholders in the municipality to prioritize environmental conservation practices. There was also a recovery of thousands of kilometers of plastic bottles and non-biodegradable objects. Other recommendations of future plans in order to push through this environmental initiative includes the Council's engagement in continuous tree planting and sensitization on different communal levels on the importance of preserving the environment. There are plans to start a plan of conversion of plastics to pavement tires and continuously engage youths in the process. As one of the recommendations or the future plans of the city, it is worth noting that the city seeks for investors and partners at national and international level to impact the Bamenda city with resources such as material, technical know-how, and financial resources that can significantly promote a green economy and green spaces. Despite the sociopolitical upheavals in the region, the city of Bamenda is open to collaborate and learn from other cities' best practices and know-how in other aspects revolving around sustainable development. In anticipation for better prospects of attaining a green city, thank you for your attention and your future collaboration to enabling the city of Bamenda green and livable.
Thank you, Bamenda. Many thanks for that. As the next speaker, I want to invite Mr. Hafizan Mustafa from Malacca, Malaysia. He will present Malacca Green City Action Plan. Please say okay if you are ready. Are you ready now? Okay, I can see you clearly. You can start now, Hafizan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Let me sort out my slides. Okay, good afternoon, and a very warm welcome to participants of the 2021 YEOSU UEA Summit. I'm Hafizam, and I will be presenting on the Malacca Green City Action Plan and also Malacca Green Climate Action Plan 2030. Actually, it's so much to talk in the very short period of time, but I'll try to be concise and comprehensive to meet the 10 minutes quota given to me. So a little bit about Malacca. Malacca is located between city of Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. It's about 2 hours traveling by car from both cities. And Malacca is actually, we have population approximately around 930,000 inhabitants. And Malacca also has been recognized as the World Heritage Site since 2008. So my background image here is the Malacca River. So actually it is the most attractive tourist destination in Malaysia. But however, the pictures tell you that there's no activities, there's no businesses. And then the tourist arrival has been severely affected due to COVID-19 pandemic. Even the murky and muddy river becomes clear due to the restricted movement control order by the government, by the federal government. So it looks like going green, but in terms of economic activities, they are very severely affected. Okay. Next, let's go to my next slide. Okay. So let's go back to the Malacca vision. We have Malacca just completed the new strategic plan for Malacca 2035 strategic plan. So our vision is to be a sustainable state. So we will be aligned with the Sustainable Development Goals, SDG. So we have entrusted 5 main thematic area in terms of development of technology, widening smart initiative and data empowerment in the state development agenda, and enhance of entrepreneurship to develop and support local populations, economic and to become more viable. Then to stimulate Malacca as investment destination for agro-industry, biotechnology, industry 4.0, digital and maritime services. In internationalization, outstanding tourism industry, and world standard educational institution. Also to create cleanest and most beautiful, sustainable, safe, comfortable environment, a sense of belonging, and quality standard of living. So we have 6 enabler in terms of inclusiveness and connectivity, economic sustainability, cutting edge green technology and smart and digitalization, human capital capabilities, cultural heritage and integrity, and compassion and integrity. Okay, let's look on the green aspect or on the sustainable aspect. Malacca produced another report in 2004 to develop Malacca as a green city action, to be a Malacca green city. So we have developed Malacca Green City Action Plan. The green city is to provide a set of recommendations that aim to maintain Malacca competitiveness as a popular tourist and investment destination, keeping environmental challenge to a minimum and establishing state as a role model for livability in the region. So the GCAP approach, the main approach is 3 E's, environment, economy, and equity. So we have 6 main areas to implement the action plan. First, to protect and enhance quality of surface and groundwater bodies in Malacca. Number 2, to reduce GHG emission through efficiency and increase the use of renewables in the generation and usage. Number 3, to increase opportunities for alternate mode of transportation and reduce GHG emission resulting from vehicular use. Number 4, put Malacca on the path to become a zero waste state and reduce waste-related GHG emissions. Number 5, promote sustainable tourism to balance need of visitors with those of residents while ensuring preservation of cultural heritage. And number 6, to protect forests and areas which rich biodiversity and improve agricultural practices. Okay, based on the Malaysia National Determined Contribution to the UNFCCC, Malaysia intends to reduce its GHG gas emissions intensity to GDP by 45% by the year 2030 relative to the emission intensity of GDP in 2005. So to make things simple, that every dollar or every ringgit being produced in 2005, so in 2030 we want to produce GHG much lesser than in 2005. That's the main goal of this strategy. So out of 35%, the reduction is on the unconditional basis, and a further 10% is conditioned upon receipt of climate finance, technology transfer, and capacity building from developed countries. So we are indeed need helps from developed countries to help us to reduce our GHG emission. So for the state of Malacca, we are also committed to reduce GHG emission, aligning with the NDC. So for the time being, there are no strategy to be a carbon neutral state. But recently, during the 12th Malaysia Plan announced by the Prime Minister a couple days ago, so Malaysia planned to be a carbon neutral country in 2050. That's being mentioned in the report. So for the time being, we are committed to reduce GHG emission based on the National Determined Contribution (NDC). Okay, we have produced GHG reports for the state of Malacca. So we have completed for so far 5 years of data from 2013 to 2017. So and then we are currently collecting data for 2018, 2019, and 2020. Okay. So based on this chart, so we can, the chart is for the GHG emission in the year 2013 to 2017. So there's an increase of GHG emission from year 2014 to 2017, and increase around 2 million ton CO2 from 4.8 million ton in 2014 to 6.2 million ton in 2017. So an increase of 2 million ton CO2. So based on this chart, it shows that more than half the GHG emission is contributed from the stationary energy. So the reason is that Malacca main economic activity is from manufacturing and industry, which the GHG was contributed from the usage of electricity. Meanwhile, transportation contributed was contributed floating around 23 to 27%. So the GHG emission from transportation sector also slightly increased. And then for waste, contributed around 19% of GHG emission. Our waste is still largely disposed in sanitary landfill. So there are we have some plan to have incinerator. For the time being, still in planning stage. And then another 2% was contributed from agriculture, forestry, and land use. So based on this chart, the GHG emission is in the increase. The trend is continue to rise. If no mitigation of GHG emission reduction is being implemented.
Sorry,
so,
could you please summarize your presentation?
Okay,
we have not very clear connection here, and the
okay.
audio, we have some problem with the audio system. Please try to summarize it. Thank you.
All right. Okay. Okay. Based on this chart, this is our climate action plan for 2030. If no mitigation being implemented by the year 2030, our GHG emission will increase by will double from 6.2 million in 2020 to 12 million in 2030. So that's why we need to implement mitigation green programs so that we can reduce our GHG emission from it will be increased, but it's not will double. The number will not double. So we plan to reduce 20% in terms of GHG intensity, 30% in 2025, and 45% in 2030. Okay, based on the intensity, so far we managed to, even though our population keep increase from we have around 850,000 population in 2030, and in 2017 we almost 100,000 increase of population, but we managed to flatten our GHG intensity as well as our GDP. Our GDP increased from also increased from 27 billion to 35 billion, but we managed to maintain our intensity from 0.18 to 0.17. Okay. So how many minutes we left, Mr. Chairman? Okay, this is our action that we have on track. We have on water management. We have several activities on track, and energy efficiency. We have several activities on track, and then in even on green transportation, with zero waste, agriculture and cultural heritage. I'll share a couple of program that have been implemented in Malacca. For example, for the chemical-free technology for HVAC system. So we are implementing all over the state of Malacca. And then we have embarked on the low carbon city framework. And then we have implemented the solar rooftop and net energy metering. So far, based on early this year's data, our RE capacity already increased at the 122 megawatt capacity. And our main RE source is from solar PV. And then we already implemented energy efficiency contract. And then we implemented Green Seal. Malacca Green Seal is our objective is to have green building rating tools for Malacca and to be implemented in all new green buildings to be developed in Malacca. And then we also implemented single-use plastic and biodegradable bags. And we have collected waste cooking oil to turn to biodiesel. And cultural heritage activities. So we have sea turtle population in Malacca, and we increased our ecotourism product. And then we received some support from UK. So UK supporting us to develop the Green Transport Implementation Master Plan, Green Bus Network Master Plan and Implementation Plan, and as well as develop of Heritage Area Integrated Mobility Plan. And then we also received support from GEF, Green Global Environmental Facility for Sensible City Program. And then we produced a report on the Malacca Sustainability Outlook, Urban Pathway to Sustainability. You can download this from World Bank website. And then we also implemented the Smart Grid Demonstration Project. And then last and not least is the Eco School program. Is mainly to enhance awareness and capacity to our future generations. So currently we have more than 100 schools participated in our program. Okay, I think that's all my presentation. I would like to return this floor to Mr. Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, Hapizam, for sharing your experiences. And sorry for that, we have not so clear connections. So sorry. Our next speaker is Legend Dodi Reza Alex Dodin from Musi Banyasin Regions, South Sumatra of Indonesia. He'll present Musi Banyasin Regions as pioneer of green fuel industry of palm oil to support the commitment zero emission by 2050. Please say okay if you are ready.
Okay.
Yeah, hi.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, the participant of the webinar this afternoon. Good day for all of you. I'm Dodi Reza Alex Nurdin. I'm the region of Musi Banyuasin Regency. And then we are from country of Indonesia, and we are a very big regency, which territorial area around 14,000 kilometers square. And I would like to present you this afternoon our commitment to be the first green fuel industry or of palm oil, all our efforts towards the implementation of the renewable energy based on palm oil, which to support the commitment of zero emission by 2050. First of all, I would like to present you our highlights, backgrounds. Now in Musi Banyuasin, please next. Yeah. Now in Musi Banyuasin, we have a current and primary energy potential, such as we have a lot of gas reserves, We have the existing coal production, which can have to 4 million ton in million, and we have also the crude oil. But as far as we know that all the current energy, it is not a very environmentally friendly. And then we would like to make the shift of paradigm, the shift of the changes, how to implement or to use the renewable energy in our regency, which is based on palm oil. This is what we call the shift of the energy change, the shift of the paradigm of the people, of the farmers, of the plantation of palm oil, which is environmentally friendly and that can be used as the main ingredients for the energy like biodiesel, or we can even more, like a gasoline for the cars and also after for the aircraft. Now we have the highlights of the total plantation area of palm oil plantation in Musi Banyuasin. We have more than 400,000 hectares, which covers of 140,000 hectares of the smallholders. I would like to emphasize of the importance of the smallholders. The smallholders has been enjoyed our program, which is called the replanting program. The planting of the palm oil plantation, which took place in 2017, has already been implemented for the smallholders of the palm oil plantation. And then, by the augmentation of the productivity of the smallholders plantation of palm oil, this will be used as a feedstock of the energy based on palm oil in the future. So we have a target of a replanting program in 2024. It's about 52,000 hectares more, and then by the end of 2025-26, all the smallholders plantation would have been revitalized, would have been replanted, and then that will be the feedstock of the energy of the palm oil, based on palm oil. Next slide, please. As we know that before we replanted the plantation, the smallholders of the palm oil plantation, the small farmers, has suffered a very low productivity and efficiency. And as we know that the productivity goes down, the global price of CPO tend to decline for the previous years. And then, this is what we call the shift of paradigm. The farmers, the smallholders, only get price from the fresh fruit. There is no added value. There is no downstream industry, which is very important for them to increase their income. And there is no also sustainability issue on this. And then the most dangerous thing that there will be a discrimination against the palm oil industries, because there are so many issues which connected to the environment and to the good agricultural practices. So our replanting program in 2017 has changed the paradigm, has changed the practices, and has changed the focus of the smallholders plantation in our regency. And then we would seek also, this could be the energy of the future. As we know that related to the Indonesian energy policy, which is support to the Paris commitment, it is targeting that the national energy mix for new and renewable energy is to reach 23% by compulsory in 25 and 31% by 2050. And the prediction that the national biofuel demand is around 17.4 million kiloliters by 2025. So, which our have target 20% as co-processing with the government-owned oil refinery, we would have been a very good progress if we could project the palm oil plantation, which is transformed into the industrial vegetable oil, which can be processed through the refinery, mini refinery, and the result is the biohydrocarbon oil fuel, including biodiesel and including for the gasoline. Next, please. So the challenge for the Musi Banyu Asin Regency is to transform the necessity of our existing current energy, which based on fuel or fossil fuel or fossil energy. In the future, the energy of the future is the renewable energy, which is very important for our regency. The renewable energy which will be suited or which will be what we call visible to do is the renewable energy based on palm oil. So there are a lot of discussion around about the competitive benefits of biohydrocarbons on fuel industry. Some scientists say that, and we already have a joint cooperation with our national academic institution of Technical School of Bandung, and the prototype of the gasoline based on palm oil has been already launched, has been already tested. Now it is in process for the mass scale production. And all the discussions would indicate the advantage or the competitive benefits of biohydrocarbons, let alone not only the environmental problem or the issue of the green economy, but also for the technical specification itself would be very beneficial for the consumers in the future. Next. So, by doing so, I believe that will be a future impacts, and then it has been already enjoyed by the smallholders now. As I mentioned before, the replanting program of the smallholders plantation has been commenced since 2017, and it is already harvested now, which increase the productivity and the efficiency and also the implementation of the good agricultural practices and the green economy. So the farmers, they have a stable and increasing prices, and then automatically they will increase their welfare, and estimated 26,000 farmers and 130,000 people are affected by the program that we launched in 27 as a replanting program of the smallholders of the oil,
you have 1 minute.
Plantation. And then we have also development partner production, and for the government itself, it's very good. It's for the green economic growth through poverty reduction, better environmental protection, and emission reduction and human quality development. Next. This is our plan, and we are now already produce the IVO, the industrial vegetable oil, and then we are now still in the processing of the refined, mini-scale refine of the benzene or the gasoline based on palm oil. Next. This is our efforts, relentless efforts from March 29, which was the first harvested of the replanting program. Now we are moving forward. We are building now factories to produce the industrial vegetable oil, not only the CPO. So it will be the downstream industry, the industrial vegetable oil, and then that will be the main ingredients of the energy of the future, which is the gasoline or the biofuel energy based on palm oil. Next. We have also all the downstream industry on commodities like the rubber. We have effectuated many downstream industries, including the innovation of the rubber asphalt industry. And then it will be also change the paradigm for the people of the farmers of our regency. Next. And then by putting that so, by doing the green economic, by doing the good agricultural practices for our commodities like palm oil and then the rubber, we establish now Musi Banyuasin Green Industrial Estate based on circular economy. We are still in preparation of processing this kind of new industrial estate which is based on the green economic and circular economic. So the biofuel factories, what we call again the corporation of the smallholders will be located in this area. Next. So dear participants, all of this, so this is the final remarks on my presentation. So this is the picture when our replanting program was launched by the President of the Republic of Indonesia, Mr. Joko Widodo, on the right side, and ourselves with all the ministers and also myself has been witnesses the launching of the program in 2017. And now approximately 20,000 hectares in our agency has been already revitalized or replanted. Some of them still in the process. And then next month, we will be building the first of the factory which can produce not only the CPO, but also the industrial vegetable oils. And then by the decree of the President of the Republic Indonesia, my regency, our agency, it is already and already appointed as the locus of the development of the green fuel, biofuel based on palm oil as a national project of the strategic. So I think this is, I will be finish my presentation, and thank you very much, and good day for all. Thank you, sir.
Dodi, many thanks for sharing Musi Banyuasin's reduction strategies. Many thanks for that. Our next presenter is Yumal Ladasa, consultant of Matale Municipal Council, Sri Lanka. He will present lowest carbon green city in Sri Lanka, nationally determined commitments and SDG goal 11.6 by 2030. Please say okay if you are ready, Vimal.
Yes, I am ready, Doctor.
Can
you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, very clearly hear you.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. Chairman, my dear colleagues. I am Dr. Vimal Vimaladasa. I am making this presentation for and on behalf of Matale Municipal.
Vimal, I cannot hear you.
In keeping with the COP21 and SDG 11, we are aligned with the government of Sri Lanka policy framework, Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor, focusing on a sustainable low carbon environmental policy, as we are producing less than 0.1% of greenhouse gases globally, with a very low per capita carbon dioxide, that is 0.6 metric tons, with our nationally determined commitments, NDCs, to reduce the greenhouse emissions by 2030, with 10% from waste, transport, industry and forest sectors, and 20% from the energy sector. So when we take the Matale Municipal Council, the target is to achieve net zero by 2045. Matale Municipal Council is one of the 24 municipal councils in altogether 341 local authorities in Sri Lanka. Matale is far away from the main city of Colombo, that is some 142 kilometers, and 26 kilometers from the ancient city called Kandy. The Matale municipality is situated in an elevation of 650 meters above mean sea level. Our total land area is a little above 25 square kilometers. Our population is little above 42,000, dominated with female around 52 to 53%. Density is 1,174 per square kilometer. We have little about almost 9,000 households, a little about 2,000 commercial establishments, and our annual budget of the Matale Municipal Council is US dollars 2.5 million. When you go back to the history of Matale Municipal Council, which was established in 1932, was declared as a municipal council in 1963. Right now we have altogether 21 municipal councillors. The principal political administrator is the mayor, while the municipal commissioner is acting as the chief accounting officer. So the Matale area is very much important in the key sectors of agriculture, covering rubber, tea, and the spice crops, the tourism, the archaeology, ecology, irrigation, and hydropower. So when we take the geographical and demographical area, the municipal region covers some 23 Grama Niladhari divisions. Grama Niladhari division is the smallest unit of administrative unit in Sri Lanka, approximately covering 300 households. So in Sri Lanka altogether we have 14,023 GN divisions. So whereas in Matale Municipal Council area, we have 23 such small units. So in terms of municipal wards, we have 13 wards. So we have 9 solid waste collection routes. Our area covers, which is 25 square kilometers, with 61% residential, 19% agricultural, and 20% other institutions. The principal responsibilities of our Matale Municipal Council include the management of access roads, water and sanitation, wastewater treatment, electricity, markets, and solid waste management. So one of the key area of aforementioned 6 items, we generate little above 50 metric tons of solid waste per day. Interestingly, 70 to 80% of these 50 tons is biodegradable. The balance consists of the hospital waste, clinical waste, including other hazardous wastes. So we are focusing on quite a lot on composting facilities, the household level composting facilities, as well as in the municipal council, we produce large scale compost fertilizer. So in addition to that, we are very much working on the triple R principles and the practices towards the livelihood income generation. In addition to that, we have introduced resource collection centers where the inhabitants, the household and the commercial establishment owners can hand over the non-biodegradable items to this resource bank and make an income. So under public-private partnership, we have introduced a rapid composting practices as well, which can produce composting material within a couple of days. And we are familiarizing and focusing quite a lot on biogas generation at household level. And as you remember, Sri Lanka has announced from 2021, 100% organic agriculture nation. So as such, we are promoting quite a lot on organic liquid as well as solid fertilizers. Therefore, we are promoting quite a lot of compost fertilizer granular machines. In addition to that, under public-private partnership, we have introduced some smart apps, digital apps, as well as the collection systems. So in addition to the wastewater and the solid waste, we have 4 key areas of concern. If you take our 42,000 inhabitants, the households, and little about 2,000 commercial centers, we consume something like 10,000 gas cylinders per month in the Matale municipality, each cylinder carrying 12.5 kilos. So every day there are about 30,000 vehicles passing through, up and down, through our municipal area. So interestingly, we are consuming 16,000 cubic meters of water per day by these 42,000 households and 2,000 commercial establishments. So very alarmingly, we are consuming almost 1 million kilowatt hours of electricity units per month. So these are the 4 areas of key concern in addition to our solid waste and the wastewater we are focusing on. So ladies and gentlemen, our net zero target is 2045. So we are eagerly looking for urban environmental accord support and the cooperation with member countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bimal. Thank you for good information and good presentation. It was so informative and provocative. Okay, now, as the last speaker, I want to invite Dr. Dong-woo Yang from the International Climate and Environment Center, Republic of Korea. He'll present the urban assessment model system, its design and application for climate crisis responses. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Yoon. Thank you, everyone. In this presentation, I would like to introduce urban assessment model system as a decision support system, and how it designed and what's the application for responding to climate change. First of all, I would like to say about background of Guangzhou. Guangzhou is a metropolitan city located in the southwestern part of Korea, and the city is a kind of a basin, which means surrounded by big mountains outskirts of the city. And the city is very much affected by climate change and extreme weather, including heat waves, urban heat island, and fine dust concentration. In fact, heat wave occurs due to global warming. And the problem is that when it happens, heat wave is not much a problem for people that can afford financially in the city. But health of the vulnerable will be seriously affected by the heat wave. Now, with the heat wave, the use of air conditioners increases, which means that the usage of energy increases accordingly, and it leads to the increase in greenhouse gas emission and suffers the temperature. Also, fine dust in the city is receiving considerable social attention from winter to spring. And the problems are causing more damage due to the recent atmospheric congestion over the Korean Peninsula caused by climate change. And climate change variability is getting accelerated by the global warming. And as a result, there happens to be many extreme weathers. When they appear, the intensity is increasing these days. So moreover, because the population, industry, and economy are concentrated in the urban areas, when climate change or natural disaster occurs, the damage becomes quite complex, and irregular, and unconstructed. So in order to actively respond to heat waves and fine dust problems, Guangzhou needed to provide an objective and scientific information these days. Excuse me. So this shows the current status of heat wave and fine dust in Guangzhou. And I'm going to skip this for the sake of the time. So we cannot control all climate changes. So their prioritization was needed first. So first thing we wanted to know was how the wind is blowing. And we also wanted to identify the characteristics of the heat wave and fine dust in Guangzhou. So we established the regional assessment model first. Then we built another separate analysis model then that can perform detailed assessment of such areas by making buildings and roads based on land use configuration in 3D. Through this, it's possible to find a vulnerable area to heat wave fine dust and to provide relevant analysis information. So we call this Urban Assessment Model System, UAMS. So this chart shows the operating structure of the UAMS. And this is a global meteorological model used internationally. So the left part, the middle of the left part is the Korean local model used by the Korean Meteorological Administration. And the bottom part of the left is about data, fine dust information provided by a public agency in charge of air quality in Korea. These contents in the left side are basically made of a database in the UAMS server in the city of Guangzhou. And taking the global model, processing the GFS data, and processing the result to the supercomputer again, and running the predictive model called WRF, to create an initial meteorological field. And the meteorological field is analyzed and interpreted again by 3D modeling. So looking at the composition in the overall structure framework, if the global model at the top is like this, and the WRF is the model that can further cut only Guangzhou area first. And overall, the UAMS combine water resource management and forest ecosystem terrain in Guangzhou area, and finally is interpreted as computational fluid dynamics, CFD. I mentioned the WRF earlier, as I mentioned the WRF earlier, but there are so many different equations inside WRF. WRF is just a numerical analysis program to explain it, dealing with many elements, including atmosphere, cloud, isolation, temperature, and so on. So the resolution of the UAMS starts from 8.1 by 8.1 kilometer, and we also downscale it 2.7 by 2.7 kilometer. Then finally we rasterized again to 900 by 900 meters, and finally to 5 meters to 100 meters, that's small. So the UAMS can provide more details at micro scale, for instance, building and land blocks. So this is an overall 40-hour predicted values from the model. And this is a picture from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Data, and 6 p.m. and again 8 p.m. in the evening when the heat wave occurred on a certain day. If you look at the picture at 10 a.m. at the top, the wind is weak and the temperature is around 24 degrees Celsius. But at 2 p.m., you can see that the temperature starts to appear over 32 degrees Celsius, and the wind is slightly stronger. In fact, there is a correlation between a temperature and wind. You can also understand where higher temperature makes the movement of the wind much easier. Likewise, in the evening, the wind blows and the temperature decreases a bit. But temperature is still maintained because there is a lot of heat accumulated in the concrete spaces, asphalt spaces and buildings in urban space. The temperature continues to rise even through the sunset at 6 p.m. in summer season. So in this case model, basically it goes through the process of verifying how accurate the model value is compared to the actual measured value. So if you look at here, you can see that the model data we have in red, blue, and green are very similar to actual data in orange and black when two data are compared. Thus, at a fairly high level, factors such as temperature are well implemented in the UAMS model. And this part is administrative district of Guangzhou Metropolitan City, and below is the GIS updated with land use map. And the arrows are shown here represent the movement of the wind during the time. We also can check how the wind is blowing in the area where specifically Guangzhou City Hall is located by assessing the wind current. And actually, we made, as you see it, we made a 3D model with buildings or roads. So if wind current flow well, it would be possible to reduce the temperature of the city and reduce the concentration of fine dust by spreading well. If it doesn't, the turbulence will eventually occur, so leading to temperature increase in the city or a longer time for fine dust to stay in the city space, and eventually damage caused by fine dust may increase. So we can check how the wind passes through this space by making 3D models. And when wind is blocked and cavity flow or rotation rate occurs, preventing the spread of the heat and fine dust. So let's say fine dust occurred. This part can be passed well because the wind is strong. But areas with a lot of white parts, look at as shown in the picture, like this area, like these are place for finders to stay. So there will be a need for improvement in those areas. So this helps us to identify which areas are vulnerable to extreme weather. So I think this is quite a catching and catching a tool for the decision makers. So this is the dispersion of wind change by region on a certain date, and it's the city hall, and you can see that the wind is blowing like this now, and the turbulence are occurring behind the building, city hall. So okay, let me skip. So after this, all are the examples of UAM model. So I think for the sake of time, I need to stop the presentation here. And thank you for your patience and your hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yang. Thank you for your good presentation. It is so informative. In dealing with climate change, we need such a science-based information which can help decision makers. And it will be great if we have such a information produced by such a system can help to cope with climate change. Many thanks. I'll turn over to moderator.
Okay.
Can you take the mic?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all the presentation and presenters. And due to time restraint, we will skip our Q&A session that was given. But however, anyone have a question? If ever anyone have a question, especially watching online live stream, please feel free to leave a comment and question on chat, and then we will follow you upon your feedback. So before we close this session, let us take a small group photo to remember this meaningful occasion. So we have one speaker and one chair of the session at this point. Please stand up on the floor, on the podium, and all the speakers and audiences participating online, please turn on your camera and have a big smile.